The banners for Wuthering Waves version 3.0 look absolutely incredible, but with so many good characters being available at the same time, which one is going to be the best investment for your account? That's what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. Note that I'm only going to be talking about the Phase 1 banners of version 3.0 in this video, and in the next video, I'm going to be talking about the Phase 2 banners. So if you want to know whether you should be pulling for Mornier, Augusta, or Yuno, that's going to be in the next video. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about Lynae, Cartethyia, and Ciaccona, starting of course with the new character, Lynae. Since Lynae is going to be a new character, I feel obligated to explain a little bit more about her kit so you understand what you're getting into. Lynae is a sub-DPS character who features a ton of universal buffs within her kit, while still carving out a specific niche on her own with some specific mechanics. First of all, she is going to be primarily good for liberation damage dealers like Yuno or Xiangliao, because she does have a little bit of extra buffing for liberation damage. It's not too much extra though, so don't expect a character like Xiangliao to get massively more buffs compared to someone like Phoebe or Brant. Her other niche is that she is going to specialize in Toon Break. Now, Toon Break is something that we got a little bit more information on today, specifically the Toon Break Rupture and Toon Break Strain effects. Toon Break Rupture will allow Lynae to do an extra attack of damage whenever you use a Toon Break skill. We do not know the scaling of this, but I assume it's going to be a rather powerful effect. And then for Toon Break Strain, it is simply going to be a damage increase for Lynae herself, meaning that you're going to be getting more out of your Lynae's field time. There can, however, only be one of these effects on a target, but what this does mean is that Lynae is going to be a lot better at exploiting Toon Break effects than other characters like Cartethyia or Ciaccona. So ultimately, if you're trying to make a Toon Break-centric team, Lynae is going to be the best bet. We also don't have many characters for Toon Break yet, so currently it's really only Lynae and Mornia who are really able to abuse these effects. But in the future, when we get a Toon Break main DPS, there's a very high chance that Lynae is going to end up becoming a best-in-slot character for their team. So ultimately, if you're trying to invest in Toon Break, Lynae is going to be the option in these banners. But I'm not going to act like Lynae is simply some kind of Toon Break bot who has no relevance anywhere else, because considering the sheer amount of universal buffing she has access to, yeah, it's gonna get a little bit ridiculous. We know what the new sets do, and we know what some of the new echoes do, which, guess what? They all have a very large amount of buffs. She already has access to a 30% attack buff and a 10% damage bonus buff from just her echoes alone. She can also run Static Mist, giving an additional 10% attack, and I imagine that because she's a pistol user, her signature weapon is also going to feature a strong buff to try and make it better than Static Mist. Her Ultra skill also gives 15% damage amplification and 25% liberation damage amplification, which ultimately means that Lynae has an absolute ton of buffs within her kit. So many, in fact, that she can really function as a one-size-fits-all sub-DPS for every single team that isn't negative status. Or Changli, I guess, because her team is so locked in already, but that's beside the point. So ultimately, when you pull Lynae, you're not just pulling a Toon Break character. You're pulling a universal sub-DPS that could be used with any DPS on your account. Let's say, for example, that you're trying to run your Frolova and your Gelbrenna at the same time. But because you only have one Choyuan, you're really not able to do this, because Choyuan is needed in both teams. Simple. Just run Lynae with your Gelbrenna team, and that leaves Choyuan for your Frolova team. So ultimately, she is going to be very powerful for character consolidation, and there's a very high chance that she might just end up becoming better than some of the older sub-DPS characters like Zhezha and Yinlin, because unlike newer characters like Lupa and Choyuan, they simply lack the buffs within their kit, and thus really only feel like Ultra skill bots. But because Lynae has so many buffs within her own kit, there's a very high chance she's simply going to end up power creeping these supports for their DPS characters. So ultimately, I would be lying if I said Lynae deserved any less than an S tier rating. And that brings us to the second character of this banner, being Cartethyia. Now, Cartethyia is a character who has been very strong for a very long time now, and it's absolutely no secret to anyone who owns Cartethyia's full premium team that she is one of the strongest DPSs in the game when it comes to Tower of Adversity. But I feel like some people's illusion of Cartethyia's strength goes a bit too far. Now, don't get me wrong, Cartethyia is a very powerful DPS, but she has some weaknesses that people tend to overlook. First of all, Whimpering Wastes. She is primarily a Tower of Adversity DPS, and her Whimpering Waste performance, while strong, is by no means exemplary. And because now we have characters like Augusta or Flova who are powerful in both modes, it means that Cartethyia simply has less pull value than these characters. Augusta and Flova having strong teams within both modes simply means that they are better investments for your account. And that's not where it ends for Cartethyia's downsides, because Cartethyia really doesn't get into this super powerful phase until you get Ciaccona. Ciaccona is absolutely vital to Cartethyia's performance, and not having Ciaccona is going to be an incredibly noticeable downgrade for your Cartethyia team. Now, you are very lucky that Ciaccona is rerunning at the exact same time as Cartethyia, so if you want to pull Cartethyia and you don't have Ciaccona yet, you can simply pull for the both of them. But ultimately, that just means that in every single scenario, Ciaccona is going to have a higher pull value than Cartethyia. To say it simply, Cartethyia needs Ciaccona, but Ciaccona doesn't need Cartethyia. Ciaccona has more teams than just Cartethyia's team, so ultimately, you're almost always going to end up pulling for Ciaccona first. So despite the fact that Cartethyia is such a powerful character, I really can't say that she is going to be in the S tier, and I'm honestly having a hard time placing her in A as well, so I think ultimately I'm gonna end up giving her an A-. Her incredible performance within Tower in her premium team simply cannot be ignored, so I can't give her B, but I can't give her A either because of all of the issues that I mentioned earlier. And that brings us to Ciaccona. Now, I've already talked plenty about Ciaccona during the Cartethyia segment, but that was primarily in relation to Cartethyia, so I get to talk a little bit more about Ciaccona's value outside of a Cartethyia team. And I'm gonna say it right now, Ciaccona and Arrow Rover is going to be one of the most consistent cores to use with Arrow DPS characters. GN and Yuno are both capable of using this core quite well, which means that Ciaccona is going to be strong if you have any sort of Arrow DPS on your account. Ciaccona is also in fact the best in slot when it comes to GN. GN's current premium team features himself, Ciaccona, and Yuno, which means that if you have a GN on your account and you want to make him better, pulling for Ciaccona and her signature weapon is going to be a good investment. And with Yuno running on the second half of this version, that means that both of GN's premium supports are going to be available at a similar time frame. So if you want to make your GN better, Ciaccona is going to be a good pull. Now, when it comes to Yuno, this is gonna be a very interesting one, because while Ciaccona is currently the best team for Yuno DPS, that isn't gonna stay the case for very long. Yuno's current DPS team is Ciaccona and Arrow Rover, but the second Lynae comes out, it's going to be Lynae and Shorekeeper. But like I said during the Lynae section, she is an incredibly powerful support that you can easily use in any other team. So to be entirely honest, there's a pretty good chance your Lynae is going to end up being busy, which means you're gonna have to fall back on the Ciaccona and Arrow Rover team. And any team that isn't the Ciaccona Arrow Rover team or the Lynae Shorekeeper team is going to end up feeling a lot worse than simply using either one of the premium teams. Yinlin and Genshin simply do not keep up with these two other characters. And to mention a non-Arrow character, Ciaccona is also damn near required for Phoebe to perform well within Whimpering Wastes. So if you are a Phoebe main and you want to use her within that game mode, Ciaccona is going to be a very strong pickup and nearly required for your Phoebe to actually do well. So ultimately, Ciaccona has a pretty good amount of synergies, with most of them being pretty strong. The standout of her teams is obviously Cartethyia, but it's by no means the only team she's good in. But soon she is getting replaced within Yuno's main DPS team, and then GN and Phoebe are by no means top tier teams. So ultimately, I think that Ciaccona deserves an A rating. A little above Cartethyia, but not too much. But that's just my opinion on the first phase of version 3.0. So let me know what you think of these characters down in the comments below. And while you're down there, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Additionally, if you have any questions, you should join my Discord server, which is linked in the description. If you just want to see more of me, you can check out my second channel, which is also linked in the description. I don't post very often, but when I do, it's just kind of something I'm passionate about. But that'll be all from me. Peace.